How do you build a bulletproof gap plan? Today we're going to talk about this. When you're in sales, you definitely are confronted with a gap. In the beginning of the quarter or the year, you have a certain revenue locked already, and hopefully, but there's still a lot to do. That's your gap. But also during the quarter, you can still be confronted with having a gap. So in this session, we'll talk about how you will build that gap plan in order how you can close that gap. First of all, it's important that you identify the gap. Realizing that you have it, don't be blind about it. And then going to the second step is to quantify the gap. If you have a target of 100, by the way, also important to know your target. I know salespeople that when you ask, okay, what is your target? They have to think about it. So in any case, when your target is 100 and you have, for example, 70K locked already, then you know your gap is 30. And then the third thing is to assess your options. So when we have then that gap of 30, when we have identified it, how can you lock and close an additional 30? So when I talk about assessing your options, when you're in a certain moment in your quarter, when you, for example, week 6 or week 7 in the quarter, and then you know it takes 10 or 12 weeks from the beginning, from the identification and discovery until the closing to absolutely get there, it doesn't make any sense to start calling new customers, launching new opportunities. There, your option is look at what is in your pipeline and start closing it. Start working on it and create urgency there. Also, look at if your business comes through channel or not, or if you manage it directly. If it goes through channel, you obviously have less control than when you manage it directly. So once you have these options, then the next step is to build a plan. And a plan you definitely will keep you. You cannot deviate from that plan. You have to identify what will you do when, who will you contact when, and maybe you hear it already because the next step is then executing. When you build that plan, you work in a limited time frame, you have identified what you will need to do, who you need to contact, and then you need to execute the hell out of it. And there's no excuse. If you say, I need to call or contact that many people, and if you don't do it a certain day, you have to catch up. So you really have to execute and execute. At the same time, while you're executing, work with somebody who will monitor what you're doing. Make somebody accountable, or make somebody help you to make you accountable for your goals. And I know it sounds a bit complicated. Whether it's your manager, whether it's one of your peers. So have somebody that monitors you, that keeps you accountable on absolutely getting that execution right. And last but not least, so if you get them there or not, last but not least, learn from it. First of all, how did you get into that situation that you had a gap? Secondly, what did you do right during the execution? What could you do differently next time? And how can you avoid having a gap in the future? I hope these steps helped. Best of luck in closing your gap. If you want to have updates on new videos, subscribe, and talk to you next time.